Have you ever washed your car and even after it's clean, the paint still feels rough? That's where clay barring comes in. Hi, I'm Emmanuel from Maxshine, and today we're going to be comparing 3 different clay barring methods: traditional clay bar, synthetic clay applicator, and our Nano clay pad. By the end of this video, you'll know which one's right for you to achieve that smooth, glass-like finish. Here's our traditional clay bar. This is a fine grade, and this comes in a putty-like bar that you can mold to your liking, even cut in half. So today we're going to use half the clay bar. Half is going to be enough to cover the whole car. It might be a little bit overkill as well, but for the sake of today's video, we're going to go ahead and mold it into a nice oval and then start clay barring with this half the clay bar. So now we're going to start molding it into an oval. This will help so that it can lay flatly and comfortably in our fingertips and in our hand. So the ideal time to clay bar your car will be after you're done doing a thorough wash or an exterior detail. That way you have the option to either do the clay barring process after you've dried the car or right after the washing stage where the car is still wet. And then it's just very important to keep it lubricated with clay lube so that the clay can glide smoothly over the paint. And it's also recommended that during your thorough wash process, you use an iron decon on your paint. That way it helps break down a little bit of those deposits. So here we're gonna do the clay lube. We're gonna spray it on the panel and on the clay bar. It's important to also wet the clay bar so that it's extra lubricated as much as possible. So again, we want to make sure that we're introducing more clay lube as we're claying the paint. That way it's not drying up and it's continuously wet. So when claying, you want to do straight line motions, front and back or side to side. No circular motions when claying. And you want to do that so that you prevent any marring and you can feel when the contaminants are being pulled off that way. So when you're claying, you can feel with your fingertips if the clay bar that you molded is fairly thin. You can feel the contaminants being pulled off, and you'll feel when the surface is nice and smooth. And that's going to be your signal to move on to the next panel. So after using the clay bar for a while, you're going to notice that the clay bar gets really dirty. You just need to remold it, re-knead it, just moving it back and forth with your fingers and then putting it into that oval like putt so we can go ahead and clay with a clean surface again. So just as a rule of thumb as well, if you do drop the clay bar on the floor, you have to throw it away. It's not going to be possible to remove anything that it picked up from the ground. And another reason too why we only use a little portion of the whole clay bar, so that in the case it does fall, you have another half or another section that you didn't use. Some of the positives of using the clay bar are that it's affordable, it's readily available, and it's very effective. And some of the cons are that it can be a bit time consuming, and when you drop it, you do have to discard of it. Okay, now let's check out the synthetic clay. So here we have a synthetic clay. It's really easy to use in the case that it does fall. Unlike the conventional clay bars, the synthetic clay you can rinse off with your pressure washer, and as long as it's thoroughly rinsed, you can reuse for multiple cars. And so we're going to go ahead and spray the surface with our clay lube, also onto our synthetic clay. Make sure that's really lubricated. And now in a straight back and forth motion, straight lines, no circular motions, we want to start gently with minimal pressure, clay barring your surface. Make sure to always reintroduce lubrication so that it's sliding with ease. So for the synthetic clay, to tell when it's dirty or maybe when you need to switch to the other side, It'll mainly be on a panel by panel basis. A good rule of thumb is every panel, just re-rinse your synthetic clay so that it's ready to go for your next panel. Synthetic clay is as effective as a clay bar, but one thing to keep in mind is anything with severe contaminants, maybe a car that's been sitting out for years at a time that needs a lot of care, a lot of cleaning up, you want to use a conventional clay bar. Something that needs minimal work, maybe has been detailed in the past couple months or a year and doesn't really have a lot of grit to your paint, you can use synthetic clay. For more severe cases, you would want to go with the conventional clay bar. With the synthetic clay, also like the conventional clay bar, you're going to notice that the painted surface is going to be really smooth, and that'll tell you that you're ready to go. You're done with this panel and you're ready for the next. All right, now that we're dry, we can feel the surface, and there's a lot less contaminants here. Right off the bat, you'll notice that it's easier to grip and that you're gonna cover a lot more area. And in the event that you do drop the synthetic clay, you can easily rinse it off and reuse it. And then some of the cons are that it is a little bit more expensive up front, and for cars that are a little bit more severe, it may take a little bit longer to remove those contaminants as opposed to using a conventional clay bar. Finally, the Nano clay pad. The Nano clay pad can be used with a dual action polisher. Also, you can use it by hand as well. There is a handheld applicator that attaches straight to the pad to use it only with your hand. So we're gonna go ahead and start by first introducing some lube to the actual pad. Next, we wanna lubricate our surface. And then in straight line motions, no circular. We want to gently, with a minimal pressure, go back and forth on the surface. Here I'm only using the weight of my hand as pressure. No additional pressure is needed as long as you're going in straight line motions. You'll start hearing and feeling those contaminants being pulled off the surface. Always want to make sure you're really lubricated so that it's gliding with ease on your paint. Cleaning the pad, you want to do it on every panel. Give it a quick rinse or spray down so that any contaminants on the pad can be washed away. Synthetic clay can be used for multiple cars at a time. Depending on how severe these cars are, depends on the lifetime of your synthetic clay. You can also feel if the clay pad is not releasing or removing contaminants. It should easily remove the contaminants with a couple passes. After that, if you're not getting any results, it's time for a new one. So we can go ahead and wipe this down. So we can feel the surface is really smooth with our glove. We can pick up some sound as opposed to how it was before. Greatly improved, and we can now either apply a sealant or start polishing. So in the case that you want to use your synthetic clay pad with a DA polisher instead of by hand, you can directly attach it to your backing plate via the hook and loop. So when you attach it to your polisher, rule of thumb and some guidelines, your speed is going to be low. You want to stay on speed 1 for your DA. Also, your movement can still be the same. It can be in a crosshatch pattern, back and forth, up and down. Move relatively in a quick motion, not too fast, and then check your surface frequently so that you're not either scratching or just overclaying your surface. So for example, if we want to attach your pad to the polisher, you want to go ahead and just center it like so, as best as you can. Give it a couple light taps, and you see it's hooked on. And in your speed 2, You want to stay on speed 1 here. That's all you need. You don't need to go any faster than that. And now, same as we did it by hand, we want to use your clay lubricant to introduce moisture and water into the surface and also onto your pad. Be careful not to spray the lubricant onto your polisher. It may potentially damage it, so just be careful. So here we'll start with the surface. Be careful to spray only the pad. And then make sure you're on speed 1 here. We are good to go. Yeah, so I'm moving relatively quickly. I'm not staying in one spot at all. You want to move this quick so that you're not scratching the surface, just recircling the contaminants. But I was only on here for about 30 seconds, so we're going to go ahead and check the surface after we moved back and forth very quickly. So we could feel that a lot of the contaminants have been pulled. So I'm going to give it one more take. A quick little pass just to get anything that I might have missed. So same thing, move in a quick motion and don't stay in one spot for too long. Same thing as any other synthetic clay or conventional clay. You don't need to apply any pressure. Simply the weight of the polisher here is all you need to glide the clay, synthetic clay, over the surface. Now we're going to check it by wiping it down. So we have a very smooth surface. All you need is slight pressure. Make sure you're not in one spot for too long, and you will remove a lot of your contaminants and get that smooth paint. Some pros for the Nano clay pad is that it's the fastest method if you're using a DA polisher. It saves your hands from fatigue, and you can cover large areas very quickly. Some cons is that it does require a machine polisher, and it may not be the ideal method for tight areas. Also, it is a bit of a higher cost upfront. If you're a DIYer on a budget, the traditional clay bar is reliable and probably the most effective. If you want a faster and easier option, synthetic clay is the sweet spot. If you're a professional or detailing larger vehicles, the Nano clay pad will save you time and energy. Clay barring is one of the best ways to take your paint from rough and dull to smooth and glossy. No matter which method you choose, the key is using proper technique and using plenty of clay lubricant. Let us know which method you like to use most. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.